What's up, everyone? Matt Gajewski here, back again talking college football. And today we are breaking down the Arkansas Razorbacks ahead of the 2025 season. Before we get started, if you like this content, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. That helps a ton for a very new channel, a small channel like this. If you've done that, thank you very much. Usual disclaimer, we are recording this on May 5th. This is an early look at Arkansas. They continue to add players in the portal almost by the day. And I don't think they're done yet. So the roster is going to change. If you disagree with something in the video, sometimes we get criticism that we don't like a team if we're critical of a position. I promise you it's not that. And if you think I'm underrating a position, tell me why. Always trying to get better. And the comments do help a lot. So thank you if you've done that as well. Let's dive right in, take a look at what Arkansas did last year, and then move it forward to this year's roster. Offensively, this team had about as good of a resurgence as you could possibly have under Bobby Petrino. We're talking top 30 metrics in a lot of areas, some in the top 20. He turned what had been, or who had been, a situational, rotational quarterback in Taylon Green at Boise State into a top 20-ish quarterback. Like they were top 20 in passing efficiency, top 22 in receiving, 21st in rushing. That was all in spite of an offensive line that was right around average. They were just inside the top 70 in pass blocking and run blocking. And overall, offensively, they come in 23rd. Defense was the bigger problem, and they've made some position coaching changes. They hired a new secondary coach, obviously in hopes of being a little bit better than 123rd in pass coverage. And they had some talented players there. So I get the coaching change and why you would make a move like that. But overall, it was a pretty good season for Arkansas. They finished 7-6. Couple blips on the radar that were a little bit inexcusable. I think week 2, everyone's going to point to the Oklahoma State loss. I personally had money on that game, so I understand your criticisms. And I had it on the Arkansas side. They're up massively in the game, let Oklahoma State come back, and then they get the L in OT. It was a disaster of a game. But they also beat Auburn on the road. Quality win there. Beat Tennessee. This team also beat Texas Tech in a bowl game. A lot of their losses were close. We're talking 10 points to Texas, single digits to Missouri. The only time they kind of got embarrassed in conference was against LSU and Ole Miss. So overall, a good body of work for this Arkansas team, and they kind of needed it because Sam Pittman was on the hot seat. I don't necessarily know if he's left the hot seat. For example, I guess the best way to put this is if they have a losing record, or let's say they win 4 games, I'm not sure he retains his job. But if this team hits another bowl or gets to 8 wins, he should be pretty safe. He's 30-31 in his career. He's been there for 5 seasons. This will be his 6th season. We'll see how this goes. Obviously, one of the things that really helped Arkansas was hiring Bobby Petrino, who elevated this offense to heights that I didn't think were possible given the player personnel last year. And obviously, we've seen some departures. Tesla gets drafted on day 2 of the NFL draft. That was a surprise. Satina transfers in conference. So obviously a lot of highly touted and productive players under Bobby Petrino developing these players, which was awesome to see. Defensive coordinator Travis Williams is back for his 3rd season. Prior to getting here, he was the UCF defensive coordinator. They dropped from 56th to 75th. So I don't think everything's written on him yet. Again, they had some position coaches that they decided to change in attempts to fix certain groups. So we'll see how that goes moving forward. But let's get to talent acquisition for Arkansas, how they develop these players. This is a team that is basically around top 30 in recruiting every year, which is towards the bottom of the SEC, unfortunately, just the way the conference recruits as a whole. So the last 2 years, they've been 15th in conference recruiting. Retention is up and down for this team. For example, back in 2023, which is their top class in the last 3 years, only 14% of that is still on the roster, which is a wildly low number for, I think it's the lowest we've done out of any team so far in the videos for a class. But last year's class, they're at 82%. Obviously, the incoming class is still pretty decent. They're a team that is a little up and down in the portal. They've been right around the top 25 the last 3 years, which is kind of how they bandage over some of the recruiting lapses, at least in comparison to the other teams. This year, they're currently 16th. Last year, they were 26th, and in 2023, they were 11th. So pretty good numbers in how they're filling out the roster in the transfer portal. But let's move forward to this upcoming season. and talk about the Arkansas 2 deep. So here is our 2 deep depth chart. This is available in the Discord. If you want access to that, the link is below. But basically, taking a top-down look, projecting everyone who might contribute in the 2 deep. Transfers are in yellow. We have their year, their prior snaps the last 2 years, their recruiting ranking in terms of stars, and then an overall value score that takes your recruiting ranking first and foremost. However, the longer you've played college football, the more it factors in on-field play over your recruiting ranking. So a guy like Taylor Green with a lot of experience, you can see that monstrous number up at the top. Obviously, their best returning player. His recruiting ranking alone wouldn't have given you that. He's a low recruit, but he's played so well that it supersedes all that once you start getting on the field. And on that, Taylor Green's back. The situational Boise State quarterback transfers in last year. Awesome season. 60.5% completion percentage, over 3,100 yards passing, 8.3 yards per attempt, 15 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 22 big-time throws, 17 turnover-worthy plays. So really the only concern you could point to as a passer is maybe he put the ball in harm's way a couple plays, like too many. But man, he's an awesome passer overall. Crazy development year over year that I personally underrated. And then as a rusher, I mean, look at the size of this guy. He's 6'6", 230, 602 yards, 3.9 yards per carry, 8 touchdowns. Obviously, he draws the comparisons to Cam Newton, which, yeah, he has parts of his game that are like Cam Newton, but this guy also has some serious just juice and make you miss ability. It's not all the Cam Newton run it right over you. There's a lot to his game. And behind him, they have a pair of 4-stars. KJ Jackson's back. Didn't really play much last year, but he was a 4-star freshman. Now he's in his second season. Same thing for Trevor Jackson. He was a 4-star in last year's class, but he transfers in from Florida State. So the QB position is 2 4-stars behind Taylor Green. This should be a pretty good spot for the Arkansas QB room, not just this year, but moving forward. Running back, they lose Jaquindon Jackson. He was the lead rusher for this team. He got picked up as a UDFA, but now there's actually quite a few options. Sophomore 4-star Braylon Russell is back. He's an enormous back, 6'1", 253. Last year, he was at 5.3 yards per carry, 3 scores. Obviously, could be asked to play a much larger role this year. They also returned Rodney Hill, who averaged 6.6 yards per carry on 28 carries, caught 8 balls. He's the exact opposite, 5'10", 186 pounds. He should be a third down back of some sort. He originally played with Florida State for 2 years before coming over to Arkansas now. And then if that's not enough, they go out and add depth pieces, A.J. Green from Oklahoma State and Mike Washington Jr. from New Mexico State. Green is 5'10", 210 pounds. He was a 4-star originally, but he played behind Ollie Gordon for a while. Last year, he missed the entire season due to injury. Through his career, he has 201 carries for 953 yards. That's pretty good efficiency at 4.7 yards per carry and 19 catches. Washington, lower level prospect. He was originally with Buffalo. He's 6'2", 215. Last year with New Mexico State, 157 carries for 725 yards at 4.6 yards per carry, 8 touchdowns. He can catch the ball. He has 45 career catches at 23 back in 2022. So the running back's in a pretty good spot. The only question I really have is, do we get a feature back, or is this a committee, and how many players are involved in the committee? It honestly, Arkansas has used a lead back for a while now, and a lot of them have been getting hurt all the way back to Raheem Sanders. So maybe a committee would behoove them, at least give their elite backs, their top backs, a breather once in a while. I don't think that's the worst idea. Wide receivers tough. They lose their top 8 pass catchers. Obviously, the biggest losses are Andrew Armstrong, Isaac Tesla, and Isaiah Satina. Those are basically everyone who contributed in a major way last year. That's their 3 wide receiver set. They're all gone. Their tight end's also gone. We'll get there, but they blasted the portal. I don't know if they're done. They just added someone actually yesterday in the portal. We'll talk about him, but I guess Omega Blake from Charlotte, Raylan Sharp from Fresno State, Courtney Crutchfield from Missouri, Ismail Cisse from Stanford, Jalen Brown from Florida State, and Cam Shanks for UAB. So starting with the players I think that are most likely to play, Omega Blake was originally a South Carolina commit. He had to transfer down to the FCS, but he absolutely dominated at Charlotte. 32 catches for 795 yards. That's an absurd 3.34 yards per out. The threshold for being just a good receiver is 2.0. If you're above 3, elite numbers. Now it's in The G5, can he do it at the SEC? Time will tell, but he's 6'2", 180. Mainly played the boundary, but a little bit of inside-out versatility for him. Raylan Sharp, the Fresno State transfer, 51 catches, 523 yards. He's 5'9", 165. He was originally a Houston commit, so he played with the Cougs, but then he also transferred down, went to Montana State for 2 years. Last year played at Fresno, basically a slot only, 84% slot, 1.65 yards per route, which is adequate. From there, we get a little less certain. Courtney Crutchfield, he's a redshirt freshman. He was a 4-star with Missouri last year. No shame in failing to see the field in that receiving core. We're talking Luther Burden, Theo Weiss, and Mookie Cooper. The players that didn't get drafted were veterans, so we get it. He's 6'2", 180. Ismail Cisse had to play a bit last year. He's 6'1", 180. This is the Stanford product, 26 catches, 241 yards. Played out wide 58% of the time, some more inside-out versatility. Jalen Brown, 6'1", 174. He originally was an LSU 4-star, transfers to Florida State after his first year, only catches 8 balls. I think the biggest concern with him is he's now been unable to find the field at 2 schools, and Florida State wasn't exactly great last year. And then finally, we get to Cam Shank, 62 catches, 656 yards. Big slot receiver for him, 2.41 yards per route. And I think, honestly, he would have been better. Some of his efficiency metrics in our grading system ding him because he fumbled a lot. He fumbled 3 times. I mean, like, if we clean that up, these efficiency numbers would be way better. So I'm a little hesitant to write off Cam Shanks. Like, these are very fluky plays. It's just fumbles are so costly that they really ding you. Anyway, the receiving room is unproven. I would, on paper, say this is not the best group in the SEC or far from it, probably below average. But after what we saw Petrino do with this offense last year, there's enough talent here, 4 stars, players that have contributed at lesser competition. I'm going to back the development and think this is a pretty good unit overall. At tight end, they lose Luke Haas. They bring in Jaden Platt from A&M. He was a former 4-star. They bring in Rohan Jones from Montana State. So Platt's now a redshirt sophomore, only 24 snaps to his name, but he's big. He's 6'5", 260. Should be someone that can help you in the run game. Rohan Jones, he was previously at Maine, then transferred to Montana State. He was an All-American at this level of competition, but he has more of your receiving profile at 6'3", 235, 30 catches for 470 yards. We'll just see what he offers. They still have Eastern Michigan transfer Andreas Paskey on the roster. I don't know. I think receivers a little better than this group, but having a 4-star at the top in Platt, a productive receiving body type in Rohan Jones, it's not the worst group, but it is at least one I have questions with. Offensive line, they lose 2 of their top 3 in Joshua Braun and Addison Nichols. Left tackle, and this is mainly a projection. Some of these guys came over during spring. Some came over after spring. So this is a projection. But if the season started today, I think you see Georgia Tech transfer Corey Robinson II play left tackle. He played there at left. He played left tackle at Georgia Tech. He was actually a little below average as a run blocker, but he allowed just 3 QB pressures last year. Not 30. I'm talking 3. This is one of the best pass blockers in the entire ACC last year, and Arkansas picked him up. So what an elite transfer they're getting at left tackle. If he doesn't work out for whatever reason, the injury or something, they still have an Ole Miss transfer in Kavion Broussard. So I think left tackle is in a pretty good spot. Left guard, they're moving over Fernando Carmona. It looks like this is something they did do in spring. The former San Jose State transfer played 900 snaps last year at left tackle, allowed 22 QB pressures, which is actually pretty good. And now he gets to move inside. That should be a positive for them. Center is UCF transfer Caden Kittler. Started for the first time last year, but only 9 pressures are allowed. He did not allow a single sack or a QB hit. Good in the run game. I mean, what an elite left side all the way up to center. Right guard, I'm not sure. I think Amarian Harris is probably the best candidate. Played 912 snaps last year. 445 of those came at left guard. Played a lot at right tackle. He was the worst starter by a mile. He allowed 39 QB pressures, but he is a former 4-star, so maybe he could develop. They also have Keyshawn Blackstock, who kind of had it was funny, maybe not funny for Arkansas fans, but last year, both Blackstock and Harris played tackle and guard. I think they were just trying to find the best answer at tackle, and both of them ended up being bad. But Blackstock allowed 35 pressures himself. And honestly, maybe it's not either of these guys. Kobe Branham is back after he played in the bowl game at right guard. He was a very young player, so the development's there for him too. Right guard's unsettled. Right tackle, I think you're looking at redshirt freshman 4-star Shaq McRoy. This player is enormous. He's 6'8" out there. Didn't see the field for Oregon, but spring reports coming out of Fayetteville have him competing for the starting job. And it looks like ahead of other transfers like Marcus Dumerville, who's a Maryland transfer, a former 4-star. We'll see how this shakes out. Left side, I feel great about. Right side, little bit of a question, but definitely options enough to feel pretty good about the line as a whole. Defensive line. They lost their top 3 edge defenders. The top player in this group was Landon Jackson by a mile. Their top returner is a 4-star, Quincy Rhodes Jr. He played 233 snaps last year. Really good run defender, also had 9 pressures, which is pretty good. Second most experience is another 4-star, Charlie Collins. Basically just 43 snaps to his name, so it's hard to project anything. But overall, those are both highly recruited players. And then if one of them can't develop, they did hit portal guys. Justice Boone from Florida, Philip Lee from Troy, Ken Talley from Michigan State. Boone is a former 4-star, played a good amount in 2022, and he's been just a rotational guy since then. Last year, he suffered a season-ending injury, and he also missed all of 2023. So, I mean, injuries have really been the problem for him. Talley, the Michigan State transfer, is also a 4-star, 152 snaps last year. Not the best play for him, but again, highly recruited players. And then Lee, coming from Troy, it's low level, but he played nearly 400 snaps, 21 QB pressures. I'm guessing this is a rotation unless someone can really stand out. Defensive tackle, they lost 2 of their top 3 snap earners, but they do return 600 snaps from Cameron Ball. He's enormous, 325 pounds. Very good run defense numbers, not too much as a pass rusher, but I mean, he's on the field to be a space eater. We know what's up. Ian Geffrard is back too after 191 snaps, slightly above average play from him. They also bring in David Oki from Abilene Christian. His profile is weird. I actually went and looked into him. He moved to America from Nigeria in 2018, and he actually had a fair amount of G5 offers coming out of high school, but his visits occurred really late in the process, which put him behind the ball. He didn't get actual scholarships from some of these teams. You know, there's committable offers and whatnot. But anyway, him being late to the game put him in the FCS, even though he had some G5 opportunities. This is not a low-level walk-on type transfer from Abilene Christian. He actually had some decent offers. They also have some 4-stars behind him. Kavion Henderson's there. Kevin Otis, 2 4-stars that could potentially play some snaps as well. At linebacker, they return their top 2, Xavier Story and Stephen Dix Jr. Story originally came from Georgia. He's a former 5-star. He led Arkansas last year with 99 tackles, 10 TFLs. Biggest concern for him was coverage, but still 22 catches on 31 targets is far from bad. He should be just fine. The 5-star caliber is great. Dix originally played at Florida State. He actually played a fair amount for a few seasons, then they benched him, and because of that, he transferred to Marshall. Elite season in 2023. Last year, back up with Arkansas. He was 3rd on the team in tackles at 72. A little bit better in coverage. He's a little bit more well-rounded than Story overall. Story just a phenomenal run defender, though. And I honestly think his pass defense is a little underrated based on a couple big plays. We're talking small samples. All this to say, the starters are in a good position for Arkansas. Their depth is pretty good. Sophomore 4-star Bradley Shaw is there, 68 snaps last year. 4-star freshman Tavian Wallace, he comes into the program. They had depth transfers in Southern Utah's Trent Whalen and UCF's Andrew Harris. Another little diamond in the rough, UCF has recruited a couple 4-stars over the last couple cycles. Harris was one of them. So this is not some low-level former G5 recruit. Obviously, UCF has since bumped up to the P4, they call it now. More of a P2, if you ask me. But anyway, UCF's not getting a lot of 4-stars. Harris was one of them, and now Arkansas was able to poach him. Defensive back, they lost most of their secondary, which, again, you could argue this is a good thing. This team was 123rd in pass coverage efficiency last year. They changed out their secondary coach. It's now Nick Perry. A lot of you will remember his time from Alabama. He's been in the NFL the last 5 years, so they're working on projecting. And it's not like they haven't had talent. Transfers, highly recruited players, they need to maximize that. So they're making a bet that Perry can help at least get more out of these players. As far as who we're looking at this year, they have 3 boundary transfers. Connie Walker from Oklahoma, Jordan Young, Cincinnati, Julian Neal from Fresno State. Walker originally began with Louisville. He started the last 2 years on the boundary with Oklahoma. A little better in 23, but still solid last year. 6 PBUs, 45% completion percentage allowed. Young is also a former 4-star. He was originally with Florida before he went to Cincinnati. Excellent numbers last year, 2 PBUs, 59% completion. And then we get to Neal. He started last year for Fresno State, 48% completion. Obviously, he needs to make the jump from the Mountain West, so that's a little more challenging. And if it doesn't work, 4-star Selman Bridges is back for his second season. At nickel, I think it's going to be Caleb Wooden, but he could play safety. He had 523 snaps over the last 2 years with Auburn, and the main problem for him has been injury. They also returned Jaheim Singletary, who they could play in a pinch. He played 408 snaps last year. That was mainly on the boundary. He was really bad in coverage, maybe their worst player. So I think potentially moving him in the slot or to safety could help. Some size stuff there, but we'll see. He's at least experienced, so he's kind of one of these players where was it the previous coaching staff that couldn't maximize him? Is he actually that bad in coverage? Nick Perry is going to try to figure him out, so we should get an answer or at least something close to it soon. At safety, Miguel Mitchell returns. He's played over 500 snaps the last 2 years combined. They also have Larry Worth back. He had to start late last year. In last year's cycle, he was a Jacksonville State transfer, but they had some injuries, so he got pressed into action at the end of the season. Both have played in and out of the slot, so there's also the chance one of them could take over the slot position if you want to move Wooden to safety. Having options is pretty good. Worthy is an awesome run defender, definitely a liability in coverage, but again, he only played in a couple games, at least starting. Mitchell also only played 5 games last year after he came over, so we'll see what this offers. I think safety is okay. There's more questions with it for sure, but there might be more options as well. They add Shakir Smalls from Maine, Quintavious Scandrett from Eastern Michigan. Smalls has played a lot. It's just been at Maine for 5 seasons. Scandrett has also started for 3 years. They just all came at Eastern Michigan. So what is the jump like going to the SEC? I'm not sure. Corner, I think, is in a better spot than safety, but again, the versatility might move some of those players we talked about at corner to safety. In I guess the kicker room, I think there's probably a competition. Blake Ford, who is back with this team in 2023, transfers to North Texas, doesn't really play. He did the kickoffs for them. He's back now, but they also they added the 10th ranked freshman in this kicker class, Scott Starzik. He might play right away. We'll have to watch this battle, but I don't know. Having the optionality is pretty good for this team. We shall see. It's a pretty good roster. I mean, and I trust their coaching staff more than ever to see what we'll get out of these players. But let's look at the schedule and see what we can project, at least try to project moving forward. So I'll remove myself in just a moment here. There we go. All right, got the slide. For Arkansas, non-conference is a little weird. They have a couple of games one in Notre Dame that is very challenging, but another one in Memphis, which is no easy game, and that's on the road. From there, they play Alabama A&M and Arkansas State. I think you go 3-1 in non-con. This Arkansas team, I don't think they'll be a crazy underdog at Notre Dame, but they'll be an underdog. And same thing with Memphis, only inverted. They should be a favorite. I don't think they'll be a crazy favorite. So that's a pretty tough non-con as far as SEC standards go. As far as the elite teams at the top, they dodge Bama and Georgia, but they do have to face Texas A&M and Texas. The real problem is within the SEC, they face one bottom feeder. They play Mississippi State. They don't play Vanderbilt. They don't play Kentucky. So this is a little bit challenging, even in the middle. You'd much rather play like a Vanderbilt or a Kentucky than the Missouris or the Tennessees. And Tennessee is down this year, but that's away. That's at Rocky Top. Not an easy game. You have Auburn. You have at LSU. So the real problem with the schedule for me is you don't have any of the teams at the bottom. It's either the middle portion or you get 2 of the elite teams at the top. I think Arkansas can firmly make a bowl. I do not think this team is live to make the college football playoff, given just some of the – when you play with Texas, Bama, Georgia, those teams that are top 5 every year recruiting, who have 5 stars, 4 stars at every position, you're just not quite on that level. You need so much development and coaching to make up for it. But I think this team can absolutely get to bowl eligibility, and the ceiling comes down to their development. Is this a 9-win team or is it a 6-win team? And I'm not sure about that. We should find out more through the offseason with the portal. But thank you guys for watching. We'll be back again soon talking more football. If you want to see a specific team, let me know in the comments. Until next time, good luck. We'll see you later.